Welcome to another Fantasy Goodfellas video where we talk about the top 15 tight end rankings for week 3. Richard, you ready?
I am ready.
The Fantasy Goodfellas.
Boom, boom, boom. Rolling on the field.
The Fantasy Goodfellas. All right, before we get started on this week's rankings, Richard, tell me how you did last week.
In week 2, we hit on 8 of our 15 tight ends. You know, we always strive for double digits, but 8 is still decent. It's always hard to predict tight end production, but we missed on some big names: Kyle Pitts, Dalton Schultz, Tayson Hill, TJ Hawkinson, Hayden Hurst, Hunter Henry, and Albert Owugbunam. Those were our picks that missed in week 2.
Before we get started on this week's rankings, let me tell you what you should expect on this week's video. Richard's going to give his rankings. Then we're going to use the stat machine to kind of hold him accountable on each of his rankings while presenting cool stats that narrow and help you with your lineups for this week. All right, Richard, line them up.
And number 1, Mark Andrews at New England. So we have a new king. I was very impressed by Lamar Jackson and Baltimore against the Dolphins. Mark Andrews is a stud. So he's at number 1, taking the place of number 2, Travis Kelce, who will be at Indianapolis. Kelce's still a stud on a great offense, great quarterback, but he only mustered 50 yards in week 2. And number 3, Darren Waller at Tennessee. The Studley tight end / wide receiver is now number 2 to Devontae Adams, but he's still getting his. So Waller is now our number 3 guy. And number 4, Dallas Goedert will be at Washington. Jalen Hurts looked fantastic in week 2, so we have to rank his tight end a little higher. And number 5, we have Kyle Pitts at Seattle. Kyle Pitts dropping. He's given us 2 duds. I think he was cursed by everybody that attacked me week 1 when I had Kyle Pitts ranked 3rd and kept telling me he should be number 1. Where is he through 2 weeks? And number 6 is Zach Ertz, who will be home against the Rams. Zach Ertz he's maybe not as quick as he used to be, but he's still a very mobile tight end, can make plays, and Kyler Murray loves him in the red zone. And number 7, Pat Freiermuth at Cleveland. Cleveland is susceptible to the pass, as we saw against the Jets. And Freiermuth has been consistent, ranking in the top 15 in both week 1 and week 2. And number 8, Gerald Everett will be home against Jacksonville. Good matchup. Justin Herbert, as long as he plays, a good quarterback. And Everett's also been consistent through 2 weeks. And number 9, Mike Gazicki, home against Buffalo. We saw what Mike Gazicki did in week 2. He had a fantastic catch in the back of the end zone. That's what Gazicki can do week in and week out. And I think this new Mike McDaniel offense with Tua Tagovailoa is going to put up a lot of yardage, a lot of points. They're going to have to keep up with Josh Allen in week 3. At number 10, TJ Hawkinson at Minnesota. TJ's been a little bit of a disappointment, especially since that Detroit offense is actually scoring a lot of points. But I think this is the week Hawkinson rebounds and produces top 15 numbers. And number 11, Dawson Knox at Miami. Here's the thing with Dawson Knox. Barely made the top 15 in week 2, but Josh Allen is his quarterback. He's in a great offense. I think that bodes well. And number 12, Dalton Schultz at the New York Giants. This is a good matchup. The problem is Dak Prescott isn't the quarterback. We know Dak leans on Schultz heavily. Is Cooper Rush going to start to do that? He didn't do it in week 2. We'll give Schultz, because he's a stud, we'll give him another opportunity and see what happens in week 3. And number 13, Hayden Hurst at the New York Jets. I've been talking about this in our other videos. I think the Bengals are going to go off on the Jets this week. The Bengals need a win. I think Burrow's going to put up monster numbers, and Hayden Hurst will benefit. And number 14, Tyler Higby at Arizona. Not a huge fan of Higby, but he had 9 targets in week 2. So we have to consider that. Stafford is looking for him, and Arizona is a great matchup. And at number 15, my high upside pick, Tayson Hill, who will be at Carolina. Again, I like Hill because of those short yardage packages where they might bring him in, and maybe some, trick plays where he gets the ball and then passes it. Something's got to give. He had a good week 1, horrible week 2. I like him for his upside.
All right. I don't see that much of an issue with any of your rankings for the tight ends this week. So thanks for coming on here and sharing your top 15 rankings for tight ends.
It's my pleasure. Good luck to everybody. I hope week 3 is as good as week 2.
Those fantasy good fellas.
Boom, boom, boom. Rolling on the field.
Those fantasy good fellas.